They inquired which humans were combat-ready military, said define prepared, all of them can kill. The huge coalition fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system like a wall of shining metal. The ships came from 37 different species, each one with its own strange shape and bright colors. The fleet moved slowly and carefully because they did not want to look like invaders. They sent a clear message to the small blue planet below. The message said, "We come in peace. We need help against a great enemy called the Devourer Swarm. Please tell us which of your people are ready for war. Give us the numbers. Tell us how they train. Tell us what weapons they use." Earth stayed quiet for a short time. Then one small station in orbit answered. The station had no fancy name. It just said UNPF Joint Command, Geneva. A calm human voice came through the speakers. The voice sounded like a normal person, maybe 40 years old. The voice spoke perfect galactic standard, which surprised the aliens. Little the human said define prepared. The coalition diplomat was a tall Keltari with 7 eyes and many long arms. The Keltari thought maybe the humans did not understand the question. The diplomat repeated the request slowly and clearly. "We wish to know your combat forces. We need to see who can fight. We need details about training and equipment." The human voice answered again. This time, it sent pictures along with the words. The pictures showed busy streets in big cities. People walked everywhere. Children ran and laughed in green parks. Old people sat on benches and fed birds. Workers hurried to tall buildings with cups of hot drinks. Farmers drove machines through wide fields. No one wore uniforms. No one carried big guns. No lines of soldiers marched anywhere. The Keltari looked at the pictures with all 7 eyes open wide. "These are your normal people?" the diplomat asked. "Yes," the human said. "These are our people. We do not have a special group only for fighting." Starts with the same basic ability. If you push them hard enough, most of them can become very dangerous. The aliens made sounds that meant laughter. Many voices from different species laughed together through the speakers. They thought the humans were joking, or maybe too simple to understand war. The Keltari diplomat tried one more time. "Please give us a real answer. We must prepare for the swarm. They destroy whole worlds. We need your strongest fighters now." The human voice stayed calm and friendly. The answer came back quick. "We gave you a real answer. You asked who is combat ready. We showed you everyone. If you want more proof, come and see for yourself. We invite a small group from your fleet to visit one of our ships. You can watch a demonstration." The coalition leaders talked among themselves. They decided to accept the invitation. A shuttle carried 6 observers to a human orbital platform. The observers came from 6 strong species. They expected to see rows of soldiers and heavy. They expected tanks that floated in the air. They expected big cannons that could break moons. The platform looked plain and old. Inside, they walked through clean white halls. The halls smelled like food and metal. A human met them at the door. The human wore simple clothes with an apron covered in red spots. The human smiled and said, "Welcome. I am the chef today. Follow me." They went to a big kitchen. The chef picked up a small knife made for cutting food. The chef talked while working. The knife moved fast and cut a piece of fake meat into perfect thin slices. One insect-like observer from the Zeth race asked a question. "How can soft bodies like yours fight in space battles? Your skin looks weak. Your bones look thin." The chef did not stop smiling. The chef turned fast and threw the knife. The knife flew through the air. It crossed a long distance over 20 meters. The knife hit a thick metal wall and stuck deep. The blade went in far, and the handle shook for many. All 6 observers froze. Their machines that checked heartbeats and breathing went crazy. The numbers jumped high. The chef walked over, pulled the knife out and wiped it clean. "That was just a normal kitchen knife," the chef said. "Imagine what happens when we really try hard." A young human walked into the kitchen. The young one looked like a student, maybe 16 or 17 years old. The student saw the knife, took it from the chef without asking, flipped it in the air once and threw it back. The knife hit the same wall right next to the first hole. The student smiled and said, "Sorry, old habit from practice." The observers stared. They could not speak. The air felt heavy now. The human admiral who led the platform stepped close to the group. He spoke soft but clear. "That throw with the kitchen knife was slow," he said. "Wait until we care about the result. Then you will see something different." The observers went back to their fleet. They told the others what happened. Laughter stopped. No one joked anymore. The coalition looked at Earth again. They saw a quiet world, full of normal people going about their day. Yet now they felt something cold in their thoughts. These humans did not look scary on the outside, but something waited inside all of them. Something ready to wake up if needed. The fleet stayed at the edge of the system. They waited for more answers. They waited to see what would happen next. The devourer swarm moved closer every day. The humans still acted calm. They still sent friendly messages. They still invited more visitors. They acted like nothing big was coming, but the coalition began to wonder. Maybe the humans knew something the rest of the galaxy did not know. Maybe the real danger was not the swarm. Maybe the real danger was what happened when humans decided to fight back. The blue planet turned slowly under the stars. Lights twinkled on the dark side. Cities stayed bright and alive. People laughed and worked and slept. The sky with fear. Not yet. The answer from Earth still rang in every alien mind. All of them can kill. The words felt heavier now. They felt true. They inquired which humans were combat ready. Military said define prepared. All of them can kill. The coalition decided to send more people to see for themselves. 6 observers climbed into a sleek shuttle and flew to the human orbital station again. The station looked even plainer this time. No big guns pointed outward. No shields glowed bright. It just floated there, quiet and normal, like a metal box in space. The observers stepped inside and felt the warm air, smell of coffee, and fresh bread. A human guide met them at the door. The guide wore a plain uniform with no medals. The guide smiled wide and said, "Follow me. Today, we show you something real." The group walked down long halls, past rooms where humans worked at desks, talked on screens, and carried trays of food. Everything looked peaceful. Too peaceful for a species that claimed every person could fight. They reached a large open room called the secondary galley. The room had metal tables, long counters, and many tools for... The chef from before stood there, apron still on. The chef waved and said, "Welcome back. I thought you might want to see how we handle sharp things up close." The observers spread out around the room. Their eyes and sensors scanned everything. One tall observer from the Vorath species with thick scales asked, "Why bring us to a kitchen? We need to see soldiers, weapons, battle suits, not food preparation." The chef laughed soft and said, "You will see soon enough. Watch and learn." The chef picked up a thin knife used for cutting small pieces of meat. The blade looked sharp, but normal, nothing special. The chef held it up and explained, "This is a boning knife. Good for detail work. Steady hand needed." The chef moved to a block of gray synthetic protein and started slicing. The cuts came fast, perfect, even, thin like paper. The observers watched quiet. Their machines recorded every motion. The insect-like Zeth delegate stepped closer and clicked mandibles together. "Your bodies break easy in vacuum. How do you expect to survive boarding actions or close fights?" The chef stopped cutting, looked up and said, "We survive because we adapt. We use what we have. Watch this." The chef turned body loose, but quick. The arms snapped forward. The knife flew straight across the room. It crossed 23 meters of open space. The knife hit a fixed support beam made of durasteel. The blade sank in deep, 2 centimeters at least. The handle vibrated back and forth, making a low hum sound. Then, it stopped, still stuck tight. The observers made small noises of shock. Their sensors went wild. Heart rates jumped. Breathing sped up. One observer from the aquatic Lyran species leaked a bit of water from stress gills. The chef walked over, calm as anything, pulled the knife free, wiped the blade on the apron, and said, "That was easy throw. No real effort. Just practice." Before anyone could speak, a young human entered the galley. The young one wore a simple jumpsuit with a badge that said, "Intern." Looked maybe 17. Tall, thin, with quick eyes. The intern saw the stuck knife, walked over, grabbed the handle, yanked it out, flipped the knife once in the air, caught it by the handle, and threw it back. The knife flew true, hit the beam right beside the first mark, and stuck firm. The intern smiled bright and said, "Sorry, muscle memory from school team." The room went completely silent. The observers stared at the two holes in the Durasteel. They stared at the teenager, who looked like any other student. The admiral who ran the station stepped forward from the back. He wore no armor, just a jacket with patches. He spoke low but clear. "That first throw was with a butter knife earlier. We did not want to scare you too much right away. This one used a real cutting edge. Now imagine when we feel motivated." One Vorath observer pointed a clawed finger at the holes. "How can soft flesh do that? Your muscles lack power. Your bones snap under pressure." The admiral shrugged and said, "We train from small. Throw things as children. We play games that teach aim, speed, strength. We hunt, we fish, we build, we break. We learn early that a tool in the right hand becomes a weapon. Kitchen knives, farm tools, rocks, sticks, anything works if you know how." The chef put the knife away and picked up a heavy rolling pin made of solid wood. The chef swung it once, slow, then fast. The pin whistled through the air. The chef stopped and said, "This breaks heads, good in tight spaces. We have used worse. We have used chairs, tables, lamps, bare hands when nothing else around." The observers looked at each other. Their faces showed new respect, mixed with worry. The Zeth delegate asked, "Do all humans learn this?" The admiral nodded. "Most do not think about it as training, it just happens. Growing up means learning to protect yourself, protect others. We do not separate fighters from the rest. Life does that for us, when trouble comes." A small screen on the wall lit up. It showed live feeds from Earth. Cities moved with people. Streets full of crowds. Markets busy. Parks green and loud with children. One feed zoomed in on an old woman feeding birds. She looked weak, slow. Then the feed switched to a training ground, where the same age group practiced throws with weighted bags. Another feed showed young ones climbing walls, jumping gaps, running fast. All normal things. Yet now the observers saw danger in every motion. The admiral turned to the group and said, "You asked who stands ready for combat. We keep saying, look around. Everyone stands ready. Not because we love war. We hate it. We avoid it. We build peace when we can. But push us into a corner, and the corner becomes deadly. Every human carries that spark. It waits quiet until needed. Then it burns hot." The observers stayed another hour. They asked more questions. The humans answered. Calm, simple, honest. No bragging, no threats. Just facts. The chef made hot drinks for everyone. The drinks tasted good, strong. The observers drank and thought hard. They thought about their own species. Most kept warriors separate, trained from birth, kept civilians safe far from fight. Humans mixed it all together. No line between safe and dangerous. When the shuttle left, the observers sat quiet inside. No one spoke much. The view screen showed Earth turning slow below. Lights glowed on the night side. Billions of lives going on normal. The observers knew now. Those lights hid something fierce, something patient, something that could wake up fast and terrible. Back on the flagship, the Six told the Council everything. The laughter from before was gone. Faces looked serious. Minds worked quick. The swarm drew closer every hour. Hive ships blocked stars. Spore clouds drifted near. The coalition needed allies. They needed strong ones. They looked at the blue world again and felt a new feeling. Not fear exactly, but deep caution. They understood the first answer better now. Define prepared. All of them, every single one, carried the ability to end a life if forced. All of them could kill when the moment came. They inquired. Which humans were combat ready? Military said, define prepared? All of them can kill. The Devourer swarm arrived faster than anyone expected. Dark shapes filled the sky beyond Pluto first. Then they spread inward like a black tide. Hive ships bigger than mountains moved silent and steady. Spore clouds drifted ahead, turning empty space into thick fog. The coalition fleet formed up in perfect lines. Outer screens held position. Elite strike groups waited behind. Planetary defense ships from many worlds stood ready. Earth sat quiet in the middle, like it had no worry at all. The Coalition War Council sent one last urgent message to the blue planet. Time runs short. Please identify your combat units now. Send troop numbers. Send battle plans. Send anything. We face billions of swarm forms. They breed fast. They adapt. We need your help today. Earth answered quick. A single data packet flew out from the same small Geneva station. The packet opened on every Coalition bridge screen. It showed one long list. 8 billion names stretched across the display. Each line had age, job, home place, and one box called Notes. The council stared. The list scrolled slow. Names kept coming. Thousands every second. Some entries stood out. Maria Delgado, age 34, nurse, expert field triage, has killed in self-defense, knife used, improvised tourniquet, strangulation. Raj Patel, age 19, university student, plays competitive air rifle, once killed charging boar with thrown rock. Hiroshi Tanaka, age 72, retired fisherman, sank 3 pirate skiffs in youth, still throws mean harpoon. Aisha Khan, age 8, primary school, bitten a bully, will bite harder if cornered. More names rolled by. Teachers who broke boards with hands, factory workers who lifted cars off trapped friends, taxi drivers who fought off armed robbers in dark streets, mothers who defended homes with kitchen tools, fathers who taught sons to aim straight, grandparents who survived old wars and remembered every trick. The notes stayed simple and honest. No fancy titles, just facts about what people did when pushed. The council room went dead quiet. A Keltari officer whispered, "They send us a list of civilians. Not soldiers, not guards. Everyone." The Vorath general rubbed scales hard. This cannot be real. No species arms its young, its old, its weak. The human voice answered through the speakers again. "We do not arm them. They arm themselves when needed. Look closer." New feeds came live. Evacuation drills on Earth had changed. In big cities, people moved fast but calm. They carried bags that looked normal, but held medical kits, tools, weapons. Grandmothers stood in lines learning to load plasma carbines. Baristas practiced throws with heavy coffee pots. Office workers drilled close fights in meeting rooms, using staplers as fake knives. Children ran patterns through parks, hiding, spotting, luring dummies into traps. Teachers led groups in first aid, while showing how to use belts as tourniquets, or pens as weapons. One feed showed a school gym. Kids aged 10 to 14 threw balls at moving targets. They aimed hard, laughed when they missed, cheered when they hit. Coaches walked among them saying, "Good form, keep wrist straight, use whole body." Another feed from a farm showed men and women loading trucks with grain. One woman stopped, picked up a pitchfork, spun it fast like a spear, then put it down and kept working. Normal day, normal people, yet every motion carried purpose. The admiral from the orbital station appeared on screen again, sleeves rolled up, coffee cup in hand. He looked tired but steady. "We do not have a standing army like you. We tried that long ago. It cost too much in lives and trust. Now, we trust everyone. If trouble comes, they step up. They always have, they always will. So I ask once more, define prepared. Because from where we stand, prepared means ready to protect what matters, and that includes all of us. The council debated fast. Some wanted to pull back, others wanted to press harder for clear military numbers. A Lyran admiral spoke calm. We see the truth now. They do not hide troops. They hide nothing because nothing stays hidden when the fight starts. Every human becomes the troop. We must accept that, or lose them as allies. The swarm hit the outer line, then coalition ships flared bright and died fast. Hive forms poured through gaps like water through cracks. They ignored strategy. They just advanced, ate, consumed, grew. The coalition fought brave, but numbers favored the enemy. Losses climbed quick. Earth watched silent. Then new signals came from the planet. Small civilian ships lifted off. Freighters, old cargo haulers, passenger liners, yachts, even fishing boats. They moved out slow at first. Then engines burned hot. They headed straight for swarm clusters. No fancy formation, just straight lines. No battle cries over open channels, just quiet determination. One old freighter named Hopeful Dawn accelerated hard. It rammed a hive pod at high speed. Explosion lit space like a new sun. Chunks of swarms scattered. The freighter died but took hundreds of enemies with it. More followed. Small yachts packed tight with mining charges turned into fast missiles. They slipped past defenses, hid weak points. Swarm ships cracked open, spilling forms into vacuum. On the ground, the first spores landed. They hit Luna first, then trickled to Earth. Big cities braced. Borders dropped from orbit. Chitin-armored monsters with too many legs and sharp claws. They expected panic. They expected easy kills. They found something else. In New York, people used fire from building hoses, mixed with chemicals, to burn waves back. In Mumbai, crowds formed walls of bodies. They threw bricks, stones, broken glass, anything heavy. In Lagos, market sellers used machetes and spears made from rebar. In Shanghai, office towers became forts. Windows shattered. Defenders fired down with hunting rifles. In Sao Paulo, streets turned into mazes. People lured boarders into narrow alleys, then dropped heavy loads from above. One small clip spread fast across coalition screens. A barista from before stood in a cafe doorway. Swarm form charged. 6 legs, fast, claws out. The barista poured boiling coffee from a large pot straight into the thing's face parts. The creature screamed, recoiled. Co-workers rushed in. They beat it down with metal chairs, fire extinguishers, broken table legs. The barista stepped back, wiped hands on apron and said, "Next." The observers on the flagship watched feeds in horror and awe. Casualty numbers flipped. For every human lost, the swarm lost 10, 15, sometimes 20. The humans fought dirty, they fought smart, they fought without stopping. They used streets, buildings, vehicles, mines. Everything became a tool. Everything became a weapon. The Coalition Council sat stunned. One officer said, "Quiet." They were right. All of them. The Admiral from Earth sent one last message. "We told you. We do not wait for orders. We do not need ranks. We need only the reason to fight. And you just gave us many reasons. Hold your lines. We come to help. Now watch what happens when every human decides the same thing at once." They inquired which humans were combat ready. Military said, "Define prepared. All of them can kill." The swarm broke through the last outer wall of coalition ships. Metal burned bright, then went dark. Hive forms flooded inward like oil on water. They ignored pain. They ignored losses. They just kept coming. The coalition lines bent, then cracked. Ships died fast. Brave crews screamed once, then silence filled the void. Earth watched every second from ground stations and orbital eyes. The blue planet stayed calm on the surface. Lights still glowed. People still moved, but underneath, something shifted. Earth called it phase improvised. Small words for big change. Civilian ships that once carried food, toys, machines now carried death. Freighters packed tight with old mining charges accelerated hard. They slammed into swarm clusters at speeds that tore hulls apart. Yachts turned fast, became living torpedoes. Passenger liners dropped cargo bays full of scrap metal mixed with explosives. Wide like deadly clouds, cutting through chitin like paper. One old cargo hauler named Star Runner flew straight at a Hive capital ship. No fancy shields, no heavy guns, just full engines and a captain who whispered sorry to his family back home. The hauler hit dead center. The explosion ripped the Hive ship open from bow to stern. Thousands of swarm forms spilled out into cold space. They tumbled helpless. Some tried to regroup, others just drifted. The coalition watchers on surviving ships saw the feed and felt hope spark, small but real. More followed. Fishing boats from coastal towns lifted on emergency boosters. They carried nets loaded with sharp hooks and acid from battery plants. The boats weaved through debris. They tangled swarm scouts, then pulled tight. Hooks tore soft parts. Acid burned deep. Small victories added up. Big hive minds noticed the pain for the first time. On the ground, the fight turned ugly. Boarders dropped from orbit. They landed in cities first. New York, Mumbai, Lagos, Shanghai, Sao Paulo. Every big place felt the weight. Chitin monsters with too many legs and razor mouths charged streets. They expected screams. They expected flight. They found neither. In New York, people used building hoses to spray high-pressure water mixed with soap and fuel. The mix burned hot when lit. Flames met swarm forms and kept burning. In narrow streets, crowds threw bricks, concrete chunks, broken street signs. Anything heavy hit hard and kept coming. Rooftop teams with old hunting rifles picked targets. Calm. One shot, one kill. They reloaded fast. They moved positions. They never stopped. In Mumbai, markets became battle lines. Sellers who once sold spices now sold death. Machetes flashed in sunlight. Spears made from rebars stabbed true. Crowds formed human walls. They pushed back. They pulled down. They stomped until nothing moved. One video spread fast. A street vendor stood on his cart. He swung a heavy frying pan like a club. He cracked a boarder's skull open. Then another. Yelled for more oil to make the next one slip. Lagos turned chaotic in the best way. Narrow alleys became traps. People lured monsters inside, then dropped heavy loads from windows above. Concrete blocks crushed legs. Car parts smashed heads. Children ran ahead with sticks and stones. They pointed. They laughed. They drew fire away from adults who waited with better weapons. Shanghai towers became forts. Windows broke open. Defenders fired down with whatever they found. Pistols, shotguns, crossbows, even arrows from old sport clubs. Office workers who once typed reports now aimed true. They coordinated with phones. They shared positions. They called out weak spots. Sao Paulo streets twisted into mazes. Cars blocked paths. Barricades rose fast. People inside fought close. They used pipes, bats, chains, anything that broke bone or tore flesh. One group of mechanics turned a garage into a kill zone. They rigged hydraulic lifts to drop heavy engines on anything that entered. The booms echoed. 4 blocks. Everywhere the same pattern appeared. Humans fought dirty. They fought clever. They used the city itself as a weapon. Subways became rams. Trains packed with people accelerated into border clusters. They crushed. They derailed. They exploded on purpose. Parks turned into ambush zones. Children with laser pointers from toys drew swarm drones low. Then hidden adults fired nets or spears or just rocks. One clip went viral across every coalition screen. The same barista from the kitchen demo stood in her cafe doorway. A big swarm warrior charged. 6 legs fast, claws raised high. She held a large metal pot of boiling coffee. She waited calm. then poured it straight into the face parts. The creature reared back, screamed loud. She stepped aside. Her co-workers rushed in. They beat it with chairs, fire extinguishers, table legs, broken bottles. The barista wiped hands on her apron, looked at the camera, and said, "Next one, please." The coalition observers could not look away. Casualty numbers changed. Fast. For every human lost, the swarm lost more. 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like survivors. Like parents. Like friends. Like people who refused to lose what they loved. They sang sometimes. Old songs, drinking songs, work songs. They laughed when things went wrong. They cried when friends fell. But they never stopped. A young girl, no more than 12, ran through Lagos streets. She carried a small red backpack, full of homemade flashbangs. She threw one at a group of boarders. The bright light and loud noise stunned them. Adults moved in fast. Knives, spears, fists. The girl ran to the next spot. She did her job. She stayed alive. She helped win. An old man in Shanghai sat on his balcony. He held a rifle from his youth. He waited patient. When a flyer drone came close, he aimed once, fired. The drone fell smoking. He reloaded slow, smiled to himself, then aimed again. In New York, a nurse named Maria from the list worked in a field hospital. Patched wounds. She stopped bleeding. She talked calm to scared people. When boarders broke through the door, she picked up a metal tray, used it like a shield, then like a club. She fought beside doctors, patients, visitors, all together. No one asked for rank, no one waited for orders. The admiral from the orbital station sent a message to the coalition fleet. Hold position. We push now. Watch close. Every human who can lift a finger fights today. Every human who can breathe defends home. The swarm feels it now. The swarm learns fear. Hive minds faltered. They sent more forms. They adapted fast. But humans adapted faster. They changed tactics every hour. They used weather. They used night. They used noise. They used silence. The swarm pushed hard. The humans pushed back harder. The line held. The line moved forward inch by bloody inch. Space battles raged on. Small ships darted like insects. They stung. They died. They stung again. Big freighters turned slow, became battering rams. They cracked armor. They let boarding teams pour in. Humans with cutting torches, plasma tools, their hands. They sang while they cut. They laughed while they fought. They ended threats one by one. The galaxy watched Earth fight. Not with grand fleets, not with perfect plans, but with everything it had. Every person, every tool, every thought. The swarm that ate worlds now bled. The swarm that knew no fear now hesitated. And the coalition knew. They had found the ally they needed. Not because humans wanted war, but because humans refused to lose. They inquired. Which humans were combat ready? Military said, define prepared. All of them can kill. 3 months passed since the first border touched Earth's soil. The swarm that once covered stars now shrank. Hive ships cracked open like rotten fruit. Their spore clouds thinned. Their warrior forms slowed. The endless tide turned into desperate waves. The galaxy watched in silence as one small blue world did what no fleet had done before. It broke the unbreakable. The last big capital ship hung above Mars' orbit. It tried one final push. Thousands of forms launched toward the red planet, then curved to Earth. The coalition remnants held far back. They repaired what they could. They counted losses. They waited. The humans did not wait. They met the push head-on. Small ships swarmed like angry bees, freighters, yachts, shuttles, even private drones. They carried people who once drove taxis, taught school, fixed cars. Now they flew straight into danger. No shields glowed. No guns spat fire. Speed and will. One yacht named Little Freedom, piloted by a retired teacher, rammed a hive node. The explosion bloomed bright. The node shattered. The teacher never spoke again, but her name lived on every screen. Boarding teams followed. They cut into dying hive ships. Men, women, teens, elders. They wore whatever fit. Spacesuits from museums, work overalls, kitchen aprons. They carried plasma torches, mining lasers, kitchen knives, crowbars. They sang old songs while they worked. Drinking songs from pubs, work chants from factories. They laughed when bulkheads gave way. They cheered when lights died. They moved room to room. They ended threats one nest at a time. On the ground the fight slowed. Cities smoked but stood. New York streets cleared of bodies. Mumbai markets opened again. Lagos alleys echoed with cleanup crews. Shanghai towers repaired windows. Sao Paulo roads filled with trucks carrying supplies. People worked together. They patched, they built, they healed, they buried their dead with quiet. They remembered every name. One hospital in Lagos treated hundreds. Maria Delgado, the nurse from the list, walked halls day and night. She stitched wounds. She held hands. She whispered calm to scared children. When a last small swarm remnant broke through, she picked up a metal stand, used it like a spear. She fought beside patients, doctors, visitors. No one ran, no one hid. They ended it together, then went back to healing. In Shanghai, an old man named Hiroshi Tanaka sat on his balcony again. His rifle rested across his knees. He watched repair crews lift beams. He smiled small. He knew the fight ended for now. He knew another might come. He stayed ready. Children played in parks again. They kicked balls. They chased each other. They laughed loud. One girl from Lagos, the one with the red backpack full of flashbangs, sat on a bench. She drew pictures of monsters with crayons. She drew humans winning. She showed her friends. They nodded serious, then ran to play more. Her cafe. She scrubbed coffee stains from the floor. She wiped tables. She hung a new sign outside. It read, "Open. Come in. We still make the best brew." She smiled at customers. She poured drinks. She remembered the day she poured boiling coffee on a monster. She felt no pride. She felt only relief. It was done. The coalition fleet gathered what remained. They sent a formal shuttle to the Geneva station. The same Keltari diplomat stepped out. 7 eyes blinked slow. The diplomat wore clean robes. No weapons. The human who answered the first call waited inside. The human looked the same. Mid-level logistics officer. Simple clothes. Calm face. The officer offered a seat and hot tea. The Keltari sat. "We underestimated your species," the diplomat said. "Your entire civilization appears ready for combat." The human sipped tea slow, then spoke. "We are not always ready. Most days we are terrible at war. We hate it. We spend years trying to avoid it. We built schools, hospitals, parks. We try to make sure no one ever has to fight again." The Keltari leaned forward. "But when forced," the human nodded. "When forced, we get very good at it. We do not stop until the threat ends. We do not care about glory. We do not care about mercy. We care about home, about the people inside it, about the future we want. So next time you want to know who stands combat ready, do not ask who. Ask what it takes to make us fight. Because once that line crosses, all of them answer, and most of them kill." The diplomat stayed quiet a long time, then spoke soft. "We see now." The human stood and walked to the window. Earth turned below. Clouds swirled over oceans. Cities glowed bright again. The human pointed. No uniforms, no ranks, just people. People who work, people who love, people who protect. The diplomat followed the gaze, saw the same world the fleet first ignored. Now it looked different, stronger, deeper. The shuttle left soon after. The coalition fleet formed up one last time. They did not leave right away. They stayed in high orbit. Watched. They learned. Every ship sent a salute. Not the quick protocol kind, the slow, careful kind, full of respect. bone-deep respect. The lights flashed in pattern across hundreds of halls. Earth answered with one simple pulse from Geneva. Thank you. Years later, stories spread through the galaxy. Traders told them in bars. Diplomats whispered them in halls. Children heard them before sleep. The story of the small blue world that faced the swarm alone. The world with no separate army. The world where everyone carried the spark. The punchline stayed the same. They asked who was combat ready. The answer came back. Define prepared. All of them can kill. And they did. The coalition never forgot. They made new rules. They talked to Earth first. They asked advice. They shared tech. They stayed close, not from fear, from understanding. Some species still laughed at the tale. Others did not. They looked at humans different. They saw soft skin, thin bones, quick smiles. Then they remembered the holes in Durasteel, the boiling coffee, the thrown rocks, the songs in the dark. They remembered and stayed polite. Earth kept living. People went to work. They raised families. They planted gardens. They laughed. They argued. They fixed what broke. They watched the stars sometimes. They knew the galaxy watched back. They knew respect came hard. They knew it lasted longer that way. One night a young student in Mumbai looked up at the sky. Bright ships moved far away. Coalition colors mixed with human lights. The student smiled small, then went inside to study. The book open on the table showed old maps, old wars, old peace. The student read quiet, ready if needed, not eager, just ready, like everyone else. The blue world turned steady. Lights twinkled strong. The answer from the first day still hung in the air. All of them could kill. And because of that, the stars stayed a little safer.